In life, we often seek success, happiness, and fulfillment, yet many of us overlook one fundamental truth. Wisdom is the key to true understanding and inner peace. But where does wisdom begin? Is it something we are born with, or is it something we must cultivate? According to Buddhist teachings, wisdom does not arise from blindly following others, but from actively seeking knowledge, questioning, and embracing the realization that we do not know everything. This humility is the foundation of true wisdom. At TT-Buddhism, we strive to share profound Buddhist teachings that help individuals navigate life with clarity and peace. In today's discussion, we will explore the essence of wisdom, how it begins with a simple yet powerful realization: I don't know. This acceptance of our own ignorance is not a weakness, but a strength, as it opens the door to genuine learning and self-discovery. Many of us grow up in a culture that values certainty. We are often taught to follow instructions, accept established beliefs, and avoid questioning authority. However, the Buddha himself encouraged inquiry. He urged his followers not to accept his words blindly, but to investigate, reflect, and experience truth for themselves. True wisdom comes from an open mind, a willingness to seek, and the courage to ask, why? In this journey, we will uncover why acknowledging our own limitations is the first step toward enlightenment, and how humility fosters growth. Are you ready to embark on this path of self-discovery? Let's begin. The nature of life. Everything is constantly changing. Life is in a perpetual state of motion. From the moment we take our first breath, change becomes an inevitable part of our existence. Our bodies grow, our thoughts evolve, and the world around us continuously shifts in ways we cannot always predict. Yet, despite this undeniable truth, many of us resist change. We cling to familiarity, hold on to relationships, possessions, and identities, fearing the uncertainty that comes with transformation. But according to Buddhist teachings, true wisdom begins with the acceptance of impermanence. The Buddha taught that suffering arises not from change itself, but from our refusal to accept it. When we expect things to remain the same, we create an illusion of permanence that inevitably leads to disappointment. Everything in life, whether joy or sorrow, success or failure, is temporary. Understanding this truth allows us to navigate life with greater peace and resilience. Imagine a person who has built their entire sense of self around their career. They take pride in their achievements and find comfort in the stability their job provides. But one day, due to unforeseen circumstances, they lose that job. If they are deeply attached to their status and identity as a professional, this loss may feel like the end of everything they once knew. They might fall into despair, believing that without their career, they have no purpose. However, if they understand that nothing in life is permanent, they will see this transition as an opportunity rather than a catastrophe. Instead of mourning what is lost, they will adapt, explore new possibilities, and discover strengths they never realized they had. This is the essence of embracing impermanence, not as something to be feared, but as an opening for growth and transformation. Resistance to change is what creates suffering. When we long for the past or anxiously anticipate the future, we rob ourselves of the present moment. The Buddha emphasized that peace comes from accepting reality as it is, rather than wishing it to be different. Imagine trying to hold on to water in your hands. It slips through your fingers no matter how tightly you grasp it. But if you allow the water to flow naturally, you can appreciate its presence without attachment. Life functions in the same way. The more we try to hold on to things, whether people, situations, or emotions, the more we struggle. But when we learn to let go and trust in the natural rhythm of existence, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. A well-known story illustrates this lesson. A farmer in a small village experienced great misfortune when a flood destroyed his crops. Devastated, he believed his life was ruined. However, because of the flood, the government provided financial assistance, allowing him to rebuild with better tools and stronger crops. In time, he prospered more than ever before. What once seemed like a disaster became a blessing in disguise. This story reminds us that change, even when painful, often leads to unexpected growth. What appears as loss in the present may pave the way for something greater in the future. Instead of resisting change, we should embrace it with an open heart, understanding that nothing in life is permanent. When we accept this truth, we free ourselves from fear and begin to experience true peace. Be a seeker, not just a follower. In today's world, we are often conditioned to follow rather than to seek. From a young age, we are taught to accept authority, follow instructions, and conform to societal expectations. Schools, workplaces, and even cultural traditions encourage obedience rather than independent thought. While there is value in learning from those with experience, blind acceptance can prevent us from discovering the deeper truths of life. Buddhism teaches that wisdom does not come from simply following others, but from actively seeking understanding. To be wise, one must question, explore, and experience truth for oneself. Many people find comfort in following the crowd. It feels safe to believe what others believe, to accept ideas without questioning, and to trust authority figures without deeper examination. However, the Buddha himself warned against this passive approach to life. He taught that individuals must investigate reality, not simply accept teachings because they come from a respected figure. Do not believe in anything simply because you have heard it, the Buddha said. Do not believe in traditions merely because they have been handed down for generations. But after observation and analysis, when you find that something is beneficial, then accept it and live by it. This teaching emphasizes the importance of personal experience and insight. True wisdom comes not from blind faith, but from an open mind willing to ask why. Imagine a man who is lost in the forest. If he blindly follows someone without understanding where he is being led, he may end up even more lost. But if he takes the time to observe, ask questions, and understand the path for himself, he will be able to find his own way. Life is much like this. Many people move through life simply accepting what they are told, never questioning, never seeking deeper meaning. But those who take the time to question and explore life's mysteries will ultimately gain greater clarity and purpose. The difference between a follower and a seeker is the willingness to challenge assumptions. A follower listens and obeys, even when something does not make sense. A seeker, on the other hand, investigates, reflects, and seeks a deeper understanding. This does not mean rejecting all guidance or wisdom from others, but rather approaching everything with a sense of curiosity and discernment. When we stop asking questions, we stop growing. When we become comfortable with simply accepting things as they are, we lose the opportunity to expand our minds and deepen our understanding of life. This lesson applies to all aspects of our lives. In our spiritual journeys, we must not believe something just because it is written in a book or spoken by a teacher. In our daily lives, we should not accept societal norms without questioning their validity. Wisdom comes from experience, not from passive acceptance. It is only through seeking, questioning, and learning that we can uncover the truth. The Buddha encouraged self-inquiry because he understood that true enlightenment is a personal journey. To live wisely, we must not simply follow, we must seek. The first step to wisdom, realizing that you don't know. True wisdom begins with a simple yet profound realization. I don't know. This may seem like a small admission, but it is one of the most powerful steps toward genuine understanding. Many people go through life believing they already know everything they need to know. They hold on to their opinions tightly, resist new perspectives, and fear appearing ignorance. However, Buddhism teaches that the willingness to acknowledge our own ignorance is not a weakness. It is the foundation of true wisdom. Only when we admit that we do not have all the answers can we begin the journey of learning and discovery. One of the greatest obstacles to wisdom is the ego. The ego convinces us that we must always appear knowledgeable, that admitting uncertainty is a sign of weakness. This belief leads to stubbornness, resistance to change, and a closed mind. When we refuse to acknowledge our limitations, we stop growing. But when we embrace the fact that there is always more to learn, we open ourselves to endless possibility. The Buddha emphasized the importance of humility, teaching that the path to enlightenment is not about accumulating knowledge for the sake of pride, but about continuously seeking deeper understanding. To learn, one must first unlearn. To gain wisdom, one must first admit ignorance. Think of a cup that is already full. If you try to pour more water into it, the water will simply overflow. It cannot hold anything new. Our minds function in the same way. If we believe we already know everything, there is no room for new knowledge to enter. But if we empty our cup, if we approach life with humility and curiosity, we create space for deeper understanding. This is why the Buddha encouraged his disciples to question everything, even his own teachings. He did not want blind followers. He wanted seekers who would explore, reflect, and come to their own realizations. Many people find it difficult to ask questions because they fear judgment. They worry that others will see them as foolish or inexperienced. But the truth is, asking questions requires great courage. It means putting aside our pride, admitting that we do not have all the answers, and seeking guidance from those who do. In reality, the people who are truly wise are not those who pretend to know everything, but those who recognize how much they still have to learn. A child constantly asks why, because they are naturally curious. As we grow older, we often lose this curiosity, replacing it with certainty and rigid thinking. But the wisest people in the world are those who remain students forever, always questioning, always exploring. Accepting that we don't know everything is not just an intellectual exercise. It is a transformative mindset. It leads to greater humility, deeper learning, and a more open-hearted approach to life. When we embrace the words, "I don't know," we take the first and most important step toward wisdom. Humility, the foundation of wisdom. True wisdom is not found in arrogance or the need to appear knowledgeable. Instead, it is rooted in humility, the ability to recognize our own limitations and remain open to learning. Many people associate wisdom with intelligence, believing that a wise person is someone who knows everything. However, Buddhism teaches that wisdom is not about accumulating knowledge, but about maintaining an open mind and a receptive heart. A truly wise person understands that no matter how much they learn, there will always be more to discover. Humility allows us to keep growing, while arrogance creates barriers that prevent deeper understanding. One of the greatest obstacles to wisdom is the illusion of certainty. When people believe they already have all the answers, they stop questioning, stop exploring, and stop seeking truth. This kind of rigid thinking limits personal growth and leads to ignorance disguised as knowledge. On the other hand, a humble person understands that wisdom is an ongoing journey, not a destination. They do not fear admitting that they do not know something, nor do they feel the need to prove themselves to others. Instead, they embrace learning with curiosity and a willingness to change their perspectives when presented with new insight. Humility also strengthens our relationships with others. When we approach conversations with a sense of openness, rather than trying to prove we are right, we create meaningful exchanges where true understanding can flourish. Many conflicts arise because people are too attached to their own opinions, refusing to consider different viewpoints. But when we listen with humility, we learn from others instead of just waiting for our turn to speak. This attitude of openness and respect is essential for personal growth and for fostering deeper connections with those around us. A powerful example of humility in wisdom can be seen in the story of a renowned scholar who sought the teachings of a Zen master. The scholar, confident in his vast knowledge, approached the master expecting to gain even more wisdom. However, as the master began to speak, the scholar continuously interrupted, eager to share his own insights. The master, realizing that the scholar's mind was already full, decided to demonstrate a lesson. He poured tea into the scholar's cup, and even when the cup was full, he continued pouring, causing the tea to overflow. The scholar exclaimed, "The cup is full, no more can fit." The master smiled and said, "Like this cup, your mind is already full of assumptions and knowledge. If you do not empty it, how can you receive new wisdom?" This story illustrates that true wisdom requires humility, the ability to let go of what we think we know in order to make space for deeper understanding. To cultivate humility, we must practice active listening, be willing to question our beliefs, and remain open to learning from every experience. Instead of seeing mistakes as failures, we should embrace them as opportunities for growth. Humility is not about thinking less of ourselves, but rather about recognizing that learning never ends. The wisest people are not those who claim to have all the answers, but those who continuously seek, question, and grow. Through humility, we gain not only knowledge, but also the wisdom to apply it meaningfully in our lives. How to become a seeker of truth. The journey to wisdom is not about simply acquiring knowledge, but about cultivating a mindset of curiosity, openness, and self-inquiry. To truly seek wisdom, we must be willing to question, to observe, and to remain open to new perspectives. Many people go through life accepting what they are told without ever challenging their beliefs or experiences. However, the Buddha encouraged people to examine their own thoughts, actions, and the nature of reality itself. To be a seeker of truth means to embrace uncertainty, to ask questions, and to actively engage in the pursuit of understanding. One of the first steps in becoming a seeker of truth is developing critical thinking. This does not mean rejecting everything or being skeptical of all teachings, but rather approaching life with a thoughtful and discerning mind. Instead of passively accepting what we hear, we must ask ourselves, is this true? Does this align with my own experience? Does this teaching bring wisdom, compassion, and clarity? The Buddha never demanded blind faith. He encouraged self-exploration. He taught that wisdom is not something we receive from others, but something we discover through our own practice and insight. A true seeker does not simply collect knowledge, but applies it, testing its truth through personal experience. Another essential quality of a seeker is the ability to observe rather than judge. Many people form opinions quickly, making assumptions based on personal biases. However, wisdom requires us to step back and see things as they truly are. When we are too quick to judge, we close the door to new understanding. Instead, if we practice mindfulness and observe without attachment, we allow ourselves to learn from every experience. Just as a scientist does not assume an answer before conducting an experiment, a seeker of truth remains open to the unfolding of reality, willing to see beyond initial impressions. To cultivate the mindset of a seeker, we must also practice mindfulness and self-awareness. When our minds are clouded with distractions, emotions, or preconceived notions, we struggle to see clearly. But when we develop mindfulness, we become more attuned to our thoughts and reactions, allowing us to understand the deeper truths behind them. The Buddha often compared the mind to a lake. When the water is disturbed, it is impossible to see clearly, but when it is still, we can see all the way to the bottom. In the same way, a seeker must calm the mind through mindfulness and meditation to perceive reality more clearly. Ultimately, being a seeker of truth means embracing the unknown with an open heart and mind. It is a lifelong journey of learning, questioning, and growing. Instead of fearing uncertainty, a seeker welcomes it as an opportunity for discovery. By practicing critical thinking, observing without judgment, and cultivating mindfulness, we move closer to wisdom. The path of a seeker is not always easy, but it is the path that leads to true understanding and enlightenment. To truly live wisely, we must never stop seeking, never stop questioning, and never stop learning. Conclusion. The journey to true wisdom. Wisdom is not something we inherit or acquire instantly. It is a lifelong journey of learning, questioning, and evolving. As we have explored, the foundation of wisdom lies in embracing change, seeking truth rather than blindly following, and humbly admitting that we do not know everything. It requires a willingness to challenge our assumptions, observe without judgment, and remain open to new insights. The Buddha did not want passive followers. He wanted seekers, those who question, explore, and discover the truth through their own experiences. At its core, wisdom is not just about knowledge, but about perspective. It is about seeing life as it truly is rather than how we wish it to be. When we let go of attachment, accept impermanence, and approach life with humility, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. We become more adaptable, more compassionate, and more at peace with the world around us. A wise person is not the one who claims to have all the answers, but the one who continuously seeks, learns, and grows. So, let us all cultivate the mindset of a seeker, one who does not fear uncertainty, but welcomes it as an opportunity for discovery. Let us ask, observe, and strive to understand life with an open heart and mind. The path to wisdom is endless, and that is what makes it so beautiful. Thank you for being part of this journey and for your willingness to seek wisdom with us.